it makes sure, that it's reading the correct oval that's selected on that testing. And then we also test the ballots that are the Freedom Vote ballots, which are the touchscreen ones. So it makes sure it's reading them properly before election day. So we haven't set the date for that yet, but we'll be doing that pretty soon.
What do you call it? The
LNA for short, is what we call it.
LNA?
Yeah, but it's
Logic and accuracy
is what it stands for.
Thank you,
Okay,
Jason.
but people can come in and watch that.
Yeah, that's open to the public.
I mean, we could only accommodate so many people. I mean, not a huge crowd, but.
But I appreciate all you're doing, and I was glad Jean asked that you guys introduce yourselves, because you're the women power here, bringing us the answers that we need, hopefully. So, appreciate everybody doing this.
I'm Peggy Byers. I worked here for 13 years and an interested citizen now.
Hi, I'm Natalie Johnson. I'm an organizer of the ACLU of Ohio. I'm just interested if we could get a list of the challenged voters from the last meeting in order just to follow up with everybody and ensure that their registration's up to date.
Not sure what you mean challenged voters.
It's my understanding there was a challenge to people's registration at the last meeting, and so we'd like to know who got their registration
I don't
challenge.
think we had any.
No, it wasn't a challenge.
We were about the paper ballots,
Oh,
not the
okay.
challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We had a challenge on a candidate at one point last year, but
Okay,
not on, and it concerned residency. But I don't think, we didn't talk about it last month.
okay, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
In that case,
So you're ACLU?
yes,
Okay, so it's. See, are they government funded?
no.
They're not government funded.
That is, yes, Mr. Torrance, yes.
Cast vote records, is that publicly available?
I'm not sure what a cast vote record is.
That is the actual, where you can get the image of who voted.
You can get a list of who voted on our website. That's publicly available.
It's on the website itself.
You can do it, you can go into absentee. For absentee ones, you can go in on there. You can even go into just voter list and select voters who voted in a certain election, and that's on there.
Okay.
It actually, it's our website, but it's comes from the Secretary of State, correct?
No,
No, when it comes in there. I thought it
it's
was-
from us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can get it from both.
The contracts, I understand some could be, where the public couldn't see, but what about contracts, what the actual vendor's doing, how much we're paying for every little thing they're doing? Because the minutes are really confusing, because last meeting we had, from the minutes, things weren't very clear on who we're paying for what. Is there any
What
way
was
to-
not clear?
Well, RBM said we didn't pay $120,000 or so, and that was an argument. I mean, I've got all the minutes here that are highlighted, so I just, a clarification exactly what all the money's being used for each vendor. We didn't even know they were running the website, so.
What I think would be helpful and what's actually would be necessary for us to produce it is if you could provide a public records request.
I will do that.
And that way it's in writing,
Specifically
right?
saying.
That way we know and it is processed.
Now, is
and it
that
can
by
be
mail or
responded to.
email, and who should I send it to?
You could do either mail or email,
I'll do
or you can
mail
drop
and-
it off or whichever.
Mail and to which,
If
Director?
you would mail it, you'd just send it here to the 204 Davis.
to the director?
To Mandy.
Yeah, to Mandy, okay. Because I know emails, I just overheard him talk, that sometimes emails go to the junk. So, we'll do certified mail. And then for the certification too, the EAC that you haven't had time
If you
to
would want to, yeah, you could.
do that again, okay, I'll do that again.
Been there, but we was having problems with the electrical outlets, so we had went to the place.
We spend a lot of time, a lot of money moving precincts around the county and everything else and to do everything for handicap voters and all that, it seems like we don't do nothing to ensure the confidence of the election machines. It just seems like everybody you talk to, in my circle anyway, some people just, we don't vote because of the machines. We don't trust them. We don't trust them at all. And you know, when there's all these pieces of the puzzle and all the articles I've given you in the last, this will be 4 months, I think now. It's skeptical at best. And I'm not, and I don't think anybody in here, it's just because I dig into it and I study it and I, obviously Jolene does. And there's a lot of other people around the country that is, and it's not just run of the mill people that's putting these articles out. So, you know, I think it's something you guys need to take a hard look, and I've never seen in the minutes that you guys have even had a discussion on any of the stuff that we give you. I think only 2 of you said you've read all of it. You know, whether you read it all or not, I don't know, but.
Well, I told you I did.
I did.
You can say I'm a
I'm
liar.
not calling you a liar, Dennis. I'm not calling you, I'm just, you know, there's a lot of reading there. So maybe you know, just kind of, you could overlook some. But there's a ton of stuff that we give you, a lot of information. And, you know, I hope you guys have a discussion on it and maybe even ask some questions. I mean, there's no questions in the minutes that you've even asked each other, you know, or even no discussion of what do you think about this article? Have you looked into anything in this article? None. And I just glanced through the minutes here. I don't see that stuff in there either of discussion of it. So it's like you're putting blinders up. We're presenting the information, but you don't want to see it. So I just think
I read it all.
You know, I think
the
you really should look
original,
at
I
it.
read all the other material, took notes.
You know, you're in a high revised code, you are to look at any election irregularity. It doesn't say whether it's.
Where has there been
And if you
election
just show us an
irregularities
irregularity
in
here,
Washington
we'll
County,
look
Kevin?
into it.
It
Where
doesn't
has
say
there
it
been
doesn't specific-
anything in Washington County?
I would-
That's all these 4
We can't
members
look
and
elsewhere.
Mandy and
Do not
I
look
have
elsewhere.
control over.
We have no control over anybody else.
So
We
in
don't-
Washington County, you bet, I want to know about it as soon as possible. But if it's in Athens or Washington or Meigs or in California, I can't do a darn thing about it.
If they're using the machines there and we're using the machines here, that's. So.
True.
And I will say, I didn't see any mention of the machines that our Freedom Vote machines in the packets. Okay, there's Dominion voting machines, and other things. So that's one question I have is, in what instances have experts looked at our machines, identify specific vulnerabilities with the machines that we utilize? And what are the experts' statements about the paper trail that we have and the auditability that we conduct? So I am concerned about this. I have looked at it, but again, we have the paper trail. We audit it, and that gives me peace of mind. We also have the Secretary of State certifications that we rely upon. They're experts in that field. Okay. And so I am looking at this. I could constantly look at it. One question I have would be, what would we do have paper ballots for folks to fill out. People do not have to vote the Freedom Vote machine. We print substantial numbers of paper ballots to provide to people. And they're allowed to utilize them at their request, okay? And they're scanned in. But if the problem is also the optical scanners, if that's a concern, then, is that your concern?
Yes,
you're-
it started in 2004 with the optical scanner.
Okay, so
Here in Ohio.
So you're concerned, you would want us to go to full paper, full hand count. Okay, and that's what I want to make sure that you guys are asking us to do.
Yes.
Correct.
So no scanners,
It started with the
paper,
scanners. It has
hand
wireless
count.
software. We cannot
Okay.
see how it's counting.
and
We want to-
I want that clarity.
Yes.
If
Yes,
that's what you guys are
yes,
asking
that's what a
for.
lot of people are
Okay.
wanting.
And,
All right,
you know, when you said it, it's talking about the machines out of state and everything else. I give you tons of information on Triad, their connections with all these other companies. I give you a ton of stuff on NoWink. I give you stuff on RBM. I give you, so and it is the machines. I give you information on the machines of stuff. Our election vendor, there's sworn testimony in Hocking County against him for giving them cheat sheets. Monroe County, I think there was 3 or 4 counties total that there was sworn testimony against him. Runback is in a RICO lawsuit in Arizona. Kerry Lake has a lawsuit against them. It's also there's a lawsuit against them because they was taking ballots back to their facilities and running the ballots through in high-speed scanners and then returning them back to the county. There was no chain of custody. There was no nothing. There's articles of that. It's not in these packets. It's in the packets from the previous 3 months that I brought in. So if you put all the packets together, all that stuff's in there. And Runback, why are we using a company in Arizona that's tied to all this stuff?
Because we can't use the companies in Ohio.
We are using
They
it in
don't,
Ohio.
we're using some, but like with Runback or with RBM, none of the technicians that come in here, none of them are Ohio residents, and that's their rule. They don't put, everybody that comes in is usually from Omaha or from,
I think Iowa.
yeah, Iowa. I mean, that's their rule, that they don't have any Ohio resident work on the machine
You know,
as an employee.
I brought up in the first one, talking about Fox News. Dominion had whatever it was, $1 billion lawsuit against Fox News. Fox News never asked for discovery. They never challenged it. Now it's come out that Fox News received $1 billion transfer from a Chinese bank to cover them costs, to cover the lawsuit. So that just come out. So why have we got Chinese? You know, our Triad, the company that owns it is a Chinese Malaysian billionaire that builds gaming machine equipment for casinos.
And there's an evil there.
Why do we have somebody from China, a Chinese Malaysian billionaire, building the machines for our county? So that is our county, and there's no discussion on it. You know, is that a concern? Is that it is a concern
I
to
wasn't
me.
concerned in
Our-
the slightest.
Our voting equipment is made in the United States. It's not made in China.
You know,
It has a sticker right on it that says made in the USA,
So does a car, but parts are from China.
right? And so is your phone.
Most of it is proprietary software we don't know about.
So your car could blow up and explode on you as you're driving down the road. That's a vulnerability, but you still drive a car every day.
You know, we look at Washington County alone, but it's not just Washington County we're electing people for. We're electing for our state and for our federal government.
you know,
And other counties in Ohio are using Dominion, which we've got plenty of corruption on Dominion. And they're dominating our state and federal elections here in Ohio. Maybe not in Washington County, okay, but we're just Washington County, the first county in Ohio. The
That
first city
we
in
only have
Ohio.
control over. We can't go up to a county that has
I
Dominion and say,
understand.
we have people that come to
I
our meetings and
understand.
say, you know, that Dominion is not good and we shouldn't be using
what
it,
I'm
so we're
trying-
asking that's just not logical.
Okay, well, it's not logical.
It's not in our, we have no authority and no input.
Of saying, hey, we have concerns with these machines.
Then I suggest you
that
go to the
is-
meeting where they will approve or disapprove those machines being used.
So the Ohio Secretary of State's office is the
That's-
one that conducts all of the investigations, sets forth the criteria, identifies what they have to meet in order to qualify as an approved vendor. This Ohio Secretary of State's office does all of that.
Oh, I know, he's.
And we
he's on
are not part of that.
Being aware of it. What I'm trying to get to, I am a Washington County citizen. I'm talking to my county, my precincts. Can we make the change? Can we eliminate all this unknowns that we're like, are we being attacked or not? We don't know. What we do have control over is our own paper and our own precincts and our own hand county and no one else involved. I'm just think about it. Just think
But there
about
Just
it.
think
other
about
people involved.
the length it would be. If we hired 100 people to help us count ballots,
How many do we hire now for poll workers?
they don't count the ballots. If
Why couldn't we?
anybody's counting ballots, I want to know about it.
I didn't say they were,
We would
but
still have to
couldn't.
hire those same
No.
folks to run the election because the polls open, then the polls close. So that number would be a constant.
I'm just throwing it
What we
out
would
there.
be doing after that is we would then be hiring whatever number of people we thought we would need to do a hand count. And they probably are not gonna be a lot of the same people because folks got up at 4 a.m. and, worked until 7:30, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, closing up the polls. So these ballots are gonna come in somewhere between, typically, it takes a half hour
At least
more or
eight,
less for
between
the
eight and
first,
nine.
first
Between eight and
group
Mhm.
to come in. So
Actually, our
they will be
largest
coming in.
precinct is
So our
usually the
start
first one that
time be
comes out.
about 8:30
Our
at
largest
night.
vote.
So how many people would we need in order to get this done? And again, the Secretary of State might say, hey, I want the results by midnight.
Mhm.
So
So
would
I
that
wanted
be
the many that are
1,000
taking
people?
vacation just to work the
500
elections. I'm sure
groups
there's more of
doing
us
hand
that would be
counting.
willing to run our elections.
Just saying, I don't know how many it would take. I mean, because I've thought about this, because because there are occasions where we have write-in candidates. And so we actually do have to do a hand count because you gotta look at, because Mickey Mouse gets a lot of votes. Donald Duck gets a tremendous number of votes. And then other people just name popular names from Barack Obama to Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton, et cetera. So you have to look at those. And so there's someone typically was a reader and someone is a writer. And we use we've used the old fashioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say we did 100 ballots and you're going to read to me, okay? And so I'm marking down all these items. We get to 100 and I just picked 100 because I was trying to figure out what would be that number that we could sort of move quickly on. So when we get done with 100 ballots, we're now gonna switch
But
positions.
that's the only way you know of counting.
But we're
In
gonna-
Texas, they've done a different way of counting and it's worked really smoothly with them. They got permission from
I'm
their
just
Secretary of
saying,
State
you have
within
to
their county to
switch
do that.
positions because
There's more than one way of
I don't
counting.
know that you read what was on the ballot. You don't know that I marked down what you read to me. So we'd have to test one another.
But you're
So
stuck on one way of
reverse.
counting. There's more than one way of counting the
And once,
ballots. It's
I'm just
been proven already.
saying,
Could you provide a copy of that?
if,
It was in
I'm
Texas.
just saying, at the end of the
There's-
day,
yeah,
when we
they did a
do it
video on it.
again, and we start this process, and we read through and we get a different number on 1 or 2 of the elections.
Okay, what
We
about,
have to time out. I didn't
Okay.
interrupt you once.
sorry,
And so I just said we'd have to reverse it. And now we get a different number. We have to start all over. Then the issue becomes, because God bless people, here on our election, I know it's hard to see, but we give them an example of a black oval. You'd be surprised the number of voters, I mean, huge numbers, that never use that black oval system. They use a check mark and they start here and go up here. So it pierces through this person and that person. So when they get there, they got another check mark. So now the question becomes, who are they voting for? And if it's a tight election, we know certainly from at least Florida, that you can have some otherwise reasonable people have incredibly unreasonable views about what was the vote. We have people who, because we use pens, we don't want to use pencil because the argument would be, well, you'd erase it and put in what you wanted or whatever. So it's a pen. And so what do? They put their ballot down and they rest their pen in an oval. So it leaves a mark. So now the debate becomes, who were they voting for? Well, if I like candidates, so forth, I'm going to scream bloody murder. It's that little dot and so forth. And the other person screaming something else. So that ballot's going to have to be taken out of circulation because the two of us will not come to an agreement. We're we're disagreeing. The point being is we now have to have other people come in and judge it. And then, because God, again, people love lawsuits, will probably have a suit over the resting pen mark about the fact that that was really what the person intended. They didn't intend some god awful check mark or an X, or they wrote in no along the side and put another mark like this. We're trying to decide which one were they saying no about and so forth, because that happens all the time. So I'm just saying it would be a huge process. And when I looked at it, I'm like, I wonder how long that would take us. I don't think we're going to get it done by midnight until maybe midnight 3 days from now. And what do you do if you're in again, if we're talking about Ohio now, even though it's not my concern, we're going to have a 2-page ballot. Those folks sometimes have four-page ballots because of the number of communities they have that the Board of Elections services, et cetera, for a mayor's, this council, et cetera, they have huge ballots. And so they're all going to get counted. And I can see the Secretary of State going, I don't think we want to go 2 and 3 weeks to get this all hand counted, et cetera, and then have a bunch of lawsuits over what was marked and what wasn't marked, et cetera. And so I like my system. All I know is at this point, my boss, that guy there, he says our system we're using is okay. They like our audit system, it's okay. And again, I've been doing this, as I told you, since 2007, so I've done a lot of audits. They're totally blind draws. You can come in for any one of our selections. We do this open in public, et cetera. You can see how it's a blind draw. And we're at 100%.
Do you?
They're satisfied with less than 100%. I'm just telling you, we come out at that 100% and we're pleased with it.
Do you draw the machines before they do the election?
Draw the machines,
When you pick,
we assign machines.
how do
Or
you?
for the audit, you mean?
Yeah,
We draw at certification.
you draw it after the election?
Yeah, that when we certify.
Is the election vendor here?
They're usually here that day, but they don't have any part in the drawing.
Are they anywhere around the machines?
Not the voting machines themselves that day, no.
Are they aware of which ones you pick?
Yeah, they know which ones we pick, because they help us set up the audit,
So they help you set up the audit also?
right, after they've drawn.
So they know the machine that you're getting ready to audit.
We don't audit by
We don't
machine,
audit.
we
We
audit
don't
by
audit by
machine.
We
audit
voted by
votes.
precinct.
Precinct.
It's by a
ballots.
precinct.
And physical
All the
ballots.
So
precincts are
you
put
take
in
the
a
ballots
hat.
and put it through the tabulator,
No,
no?
we use the TM that comes out of there, the USB port, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, the flash
How long
drive.
does it take to hand count them?
It depends on how big of like this
Yeah.
election, might take a couple days.
Oh, it'd take us longer.
So
Yeah,
you
like
take
for,
the
like for
USB
June, it only took
The
one
flash
day.
drive, and you stick it in something else? I'm
Because
confused.
it has the results.
Well,
Yes.
we use the results that were already read in on election night.
Mhm.
We don't re-put in. the
Yeah, we don't
flash drive.
re-put it in, we use the ones that.
So
were
you're not
already-
even touching the paper ballots at all to do an audit?
Right, we're doing it as what was scanned in. It gives you the image of the ballot and then what the machine read it as.
So
So we're looking at the
isn't
picture of the
Ohio law
ballot.
said that you should observe the counting of the votes, the ballots?
Mhm, We're looking at the picture of the ballot, because the machine takes the
Oh,
picture
So
of
you
the
take
ballot.
that,
as
put it
it
on a
goes through.
computer to see the actual,
Right, so we're
ballot.
looking on a computer screen at a picture of the ballot. And then how the machine read it.
Understand that the decision on that election, at least in my mind, hasn't been made yet. Because of reading through all this material and so forth. I think, because there was a time where we were looking at the ballots and then.
We have looked at the papers
Because the
before.
new system came in, was taking pictures of it and so forth. And so I'm somewhat, I would share your concern that I would like to see us look at paper ballots, but that hasn't been decided by the board. in all candor.
I thought we were looking at the paper ballots. Is the public not aware that we're just?
Well, you're looking at the paper ballot, but if you're looking at it through another medium, i.e. there was a picture taken of it. And so forth.
So,
And when we did that, just like in the sheriff's race, you know how close the sheriff's
Oh,
race
yeah,
was for
I
last,
paid
the last
attention.
primary. So even that, when we did the official recount, both candidates had the right to have legal representation here, and one of the candidates did. And actually, he was here with us the entire day throughout the audit. He's a former, I don't know if he was an attorney, Casey.
He was a lawyer.
He is a lawyer, but he was a
Yeah.
former long-term
What's
Board of
that?
Elections member in
He was
Franklin
a-
County.
Yeah.
So they have the right, and and it's, again, everything's open to the public. So you can come in here and watch us do that.
okay, so I'm gonna go back to counting the votes. There is in Texas, 4 people around a table with a camera above them where the public can actually see a counting of the votes, literally watch the counting of the votes. I'll find the video. Would you take it through email or would you take it through?
If you maybe would send it, just to my personal, because we're not able to accept those.
Okay. I can do that. It ran beautifully. Secretary of State of Texas gave them permission to do it. They had it done in no time. It was a beautiful process. There's more than one way of counting the votes. Also, why don't we educate the public on marking ballots? I mean, when's the last time our kids even did a test with circles like we used to growing up? They don't do that anymore, do they?
I don't know. I think they do in standardized testing.
Standardized testing.
I don't even know. My kid didn't even learn cursive. So,
Right.
I mean, why don't we educate the public on how to actually do the ballot when they walk in? Hey, this, show them so, people. might
There
know.
are
I don't
instructions.
think
Another
it's- I
thing
don't
is,
think
I'm
it's-
not done.
Right.
Why don't we ask the public, our Washington County, what do you want? Are you done with the machines? Do you want to do the paper? Do you want to volunteer? I'm taking vacation to do it. To work the election. There's more people that will just raise their hand. Yes, I'll take vacation, but I will take time off. There's people who don't even have jobs that would be willing to work. Have you asked the public or is just your opinion? I mean, just ask the public. It is our election. It is our county, our precinct.
And so you're referring again to 100% paper, 100% hand count?
Yes.
Okay.
There's too much corruption that's so questionable and more is coming out and we're beefing up. Why are we beefing up? Because we're ready for a huge attack. I mean, Department of Homeland Security and the FBI has just put out warnings. Be prepared. So here's a scenario. So what happens when we do get attacked on election day? Are we prepared to do paper ballots and hand count? Are we waiting for the National Guard to come in and take care of it? Are we-
Yes, we have an election administration plan
Yeah,
and that would lay out what we would have to do if there is a some kind of an emergency. Also, next Friday, we are meeting with safety personnel and the commissioners and the EOC operations to kind of do what we call a dry run of what would happen if, say, the fairgrounds got flooded. Where are we going to put, our largest voting location? So there are things that we are going to be working on with them. But, the percentage of people voting on the machines compared to the people actually, now we have a lot of absentee ballots this year
Yeah.
because Secretary of State had sent out every registered voter in Ohio
after them.
an
all.
application. So we're going to have a lot of paper ballots, but overwhelmingly, we have much more people, voters using the machines than are taking paper ballots.
But they don't even know they're allowed to have paper ballots.
Yes, they are. Yes, they do. The poll workers, I understand you've told many people that they can take.
I know because I
Yeah.
wasn't
But they
aware of
don't-
it until I
But
learned the
again,
law.
we can't, that is, if most people will come in and say, I'd rather have a paper ballot. We have no problem with people
I-
taking a paper ballot.
And I've talked to many saying, I didn't know I had that option.
Well,
I'm like, well, what
then
do you
I
know?
must do a better job of
Educate
training
yourself.
training our poll workers then. And I
Well,
will take that
workers
note.
in the public, I educated myself. I didn't know until I became a poll worker. I'm like, oh, I can do paper ballots. Seriously? I did not know that. So then they're like, we didn't know we had to ask. So the public's not aware that they're allowed to use paper ballots. They think they're forced on a machine. It's just,
But again,
it's educate
That's-
yourself.
that's still getting scanned through the
It is
machine.
going, yes, it is going through the
So-
tabulator where it all started, yes. So it's the library software that's doing the count. You don't know what it's spitting out.
And I do have a question. If there's so much corruption and everything, then how can we trust the people who are gonna be hand counting our ballots?
It's your own neighborhood.
We did it for 200 years.
And we also didn't find the results until if the November election, this
Several
wasn't
weeks
the
later.
inauguration is in
I'm sorry,
January.
are you saying that historically I didn't wake up and know who the president was?
No, I'm not saying that, but
She's saying years ago.
years ago,
We didn't
Years
know
ago.
that.
Where?
when we had the Pony Express, that's the reason. If we took that long,
Wait a minute. Why the hell are we going back to the ponies? You people act like before computers, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And
No, that's not.
that's not what I'm
all I
saying,
have
sir.
heard is too much time, don't know how many people it would take. I mean, hell, you guys have historical records. Well, let's look back and see, well, how many employees did we have? What was the budget of the office then? How long did it take us to do it?
We don't have
We don't have those kind of
records.
records,
Oh.
sir. We don't
We
have
don't
those.
have any records of what we used to do.
From years ago.
We have records of the actual votes, I mean, but we don't have how that was processed, how those votes came
It would be
to.
rather easy to go back and look at the budget and number of employees and then how many votes were cast. in
I mean, but even when we
Washington County.
use the
As
punch cards-
Washington County's population declines, it should be easier to count the votes, I would think. Not harder,
We've
just
used
because we have.
punch
a
cards or
computer.
computers for 40, 50 years. So you're talking 50+ years ago. When I first started voting in 1972, you had the punch, and we've used punch cards since at least the 70s. I don't, right? And the punch
Oh, I
cards.
grew
I think
up
earlier
in
than
another
that, Robbie.
state and we used you walked into a machine,
Yeah.
through the
you marked it
lever.
and then
Okay,
did
well,
that.
I grew up, we've been
Clicking
talking
and
about
then
Washington
you
County
threw
and
it
all
back
the
and
other
you voted.
places that we
But,
voted. I grew up in
They've had
Washington.
machines counting votes for at least the last 50 years.
So are you saying that I did not go in and vote on a paper ballot with a marker in Washington County?
We don't have records of how that happened
No,
except
no,
that.
no, we don't. I'm
machines.
telling you I did. Are you saying I didn't?
I don't think she's saying that, sir.
Well, she is.
Well, no, just calm down.
I'm very calm.
Well, I mean, she's saying that you voted this way and then you turned it around to say, are you telling me a liar?
No, I mean, I'm not saying that somebody could vote that.
I think you pretty much did.
Did I leave my mouth?
You said, are you saying that I'm not telling the
Did
truth?
liar leave my mouth?
No.
Then take it back. Take it back.
Take what back,
You
sir?
just said I said that she was a liar. Take it back.
I just said.
You can't say when you're wrong.
No, I can't, sir.
Thank you very much.
Time out. I think we're, at this point, we're plowing ground that's been plowed 12 times over.
If we don't think corruption is at the highest level can happen, look at the $61 million.
I wanna end with one thing that you were kind enough to provide me with. And that was, again, Mr. Halderman's testimony.
Yes, that was fascinating to read.
Yeah. And the one thing, and I guess it's the thing that, again, I mentioned that I found some comfort in my own experience today. And the question, what I said was, this is Halderman. What I said was that I have, to my knowledge, there is no evidence that shows any of these vulnerabilities have ever been exploited against a real election. We're talking about prospective risks. There have been false claims or conspiracy theories about past elections that talk about vulnerabilities and Dominion citizens, but I don't find those credible. And so that at least is my own experience, that there are the possibility of attacks, et cetera. But to date, certainly this fellow that was put on as the expert, one of the foremost experts in the United States, said that there's no evidence that any of the things he's concerned about have ever happened in any election in the United States.
So why are we beefing up?
So I take him at his word at this point
Okay,
that we're aware of the problem and we're certainly going to do our best to make sure it doesn't happen here.
thank you for reading
And
that.
we've been at least educated. So again, I have a greater interest in perhaps being a little more work or diligent, I don't know, or not taking advantage of some of the nifty things these machines do, just to assure folks that in fact, if you mark the ballot, whatever the case may be, your vote, the way it was cast is the way we counted it. So that it did, we were accurate about that. But again, if you have more information, I'm gonna look at it.
$61 million bought a House Speaker, probably bought our governor, Sam Randazzo, the PUCO director. So it's amazing what money will do. And when you put all these private entities in this.
I mean, you
their
wouldn't have to
backgrounds.
tell, I understand completely what people are capable of.
And, you know, it's a lot tougher to, you know, when you got people in your local precincts that can do it. You know, we've got the ability, we've got good people in this county, and there's no reason we can't hand count the ballots ourselves.
And having
Again,
out-of-state
I
people
have
come
my
in.
questions
I'm
about
questioning
that,
that
but
too.
we'll see. So again, you're more than welcome to stay. We have to move on. I don't know if I gave you our agenda, but it's rather long.
Are you online?
Appreciate it.
So I can watch the rest?
Yes,
Yes.
All right.
brilliant. Thank you for going.
Thank you for reading all that.
I think we have minutes.
Made some
We
corrections.
have some corrections.
Just a couple corrections, mostly commas and things
Grammatical.
like that, but
Okay, you guys can sign it.
So
this
do
is
we
the
have
corrected one?
Yeah.
do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. We have a few bills.
Yes, which actually, we didn't, don't think get yours. We had Robin here for the, summer conference.
Did you
I
get a
don't think I got
receipt?
your receipt for the.
Because they don't come to me.
Couldn't find it anywhere. Maybe, so if you did.
Excuse me.
The other one, the integrated voting systems, that's the company that we're going through with RBM to do the mailing. And that's for the postage for the initial mailing, the $4,665.
Now, maybe I
But that's for
believe,
7,500.
but I believe the commissioners were using their.
See, they never gave us their number, so
So they
this
don't
is a
have a number,
PO
but
for-
yeah, that's a PO that we
So
said,
that's what this, yeah,
yeah, it goes to Ben. It shouldn't come out of our budget.
okay, well then maybe we need
Yeah,
to give it to
it goes to
them.
Ben, because Ben said if we gave him a PO, they would pay for it.
So, but to get a PO number, we have to put it through our system.
Well, I
Maybe
think we
they'll
still
maybe
have
we'll
to
need to talk to
approve
them. Talk to Ben.
whatever the
Yeah, let's talk to Ben and
whatever
see,
the,
because that shouldn't come out.
bill
of ours.
is,
The
for
commissioners
these county
graciously
commissioners.
pay our mailing.
And then this triads our data act.
Yeah, the Data Act upgrade, though, we will be getting grant money to cover that,
Mhm.
so.
Okay,
So should we approve the minutes minus the postage until you figure that out, or? And you.
Or if you want to approve this pending in case we do have to
Yeah.
pay for it. That way it already be approved.
I would think, I don't know, we'll talk to Ben.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the bills, pending explanation for the postage as to how to get that reimbursed.
So,
do I have a second?
Well, was that including me?
Oh, Adam.
So I can't.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, pass.
Okay. And
We're
I
up to
abstain.
correspondence.
I will
paying
put that
myself.
Robin abstain.
Yeah, there were several directives, that came since, the last,
Oh, yeah.
meeting. There was the 2024-18 that talks about the Data Act and our implementation of that.
And we signed what we needed to sign in order to qualify for
To
reimbursement,
get
right?
to get the grant
Okay.
money. The general voter records maintenance program, number 19, that is part of that NCOA mailing, that we're doing.
Mhm.
Which we have the triad printed the letter for us. There was about 2,400 letters, and so we'll be stuffing envelopes soon.
If
to get
anybody
those out
is
in the mail.
interested in wanting to help stuff envelopes, we would surely take any assistance.
You know when you're doing them?
We can actually start now, but we are waiting on a few more envelopes that come from Hyde Brothers. But we do have some envelopes.
But we also have those thousands of applications we have to put in. so-
Right, we have the applications, that's what we've been working on.
Sheila is starting next week. And I think next meeting we can put it on all the temporary employees. We're probably gonna go with about 6.
At least, I'd say,
You know,
for,
using all the computers in there and then having ushering. And then we need a bipartisan team in the actual voting room as well.
the 2024-20, that's the ballots for the election, that was revised, so the 23 is the revised. So I didn't give you a copy of 20, because the 23 is the one we're using, that's the revised. 21 was enforcement of provisions for absentee voters, their ballots, compliance, it says with state and federal laws. Now, when people bring in, if they would bring somebody else's ballot to us, they have to sign an affidavit.
Do we have that form, that?
Yeah, I have it.
Maybe I would share it with them.
I brought it in so you can see, this is a copy of what it's 2 parts. One's for if they're bringing it for somebody who is disabled, like if they're a caregiver. And then one is for a family member. So we would cut those apart to hand out to people, to hand them the correct one that they would need. And then there's a sign that we have to put on the ballot drop box that kind of states that information for people. And actually, the Secretary of State provided us a nice big laminated copy of that for us to post up there.
Concerning that, if I may, our association, Aaron and the other 2 people that are there, our legislative committee on the association asked for our input because they have received numerous concerns about 24-21. And I did provide input, I did it, and I made it very clear that this was mine, it was not representative of you as the board, or Mandy as the director, or any other staff. But I did express concerns that I had with applying, this for concerns about disabled and handicapped voters and having caregivers. We also have a lot of people that come in and drop their ballots off after hours. Now we have this camera on them, so we can see that, but I'm unsure, do I have to watch that camera video? Do we have to watch that every morning to make sure nobody dropped off more than allotted?
So it's not gonna be locked?
At night? No.
Well, it's people can drop off, but they can't get in it to remove that.
No, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's locked, but
It's
to lock the
Well, it's locked
slot.
at all times.
I mean, I don't know that I don't know.
Well, that might be a question for the Secretary of State's
Yeah.
office, is how do we prevent people from dumping a bunch of those after hours?
Or even.
And
if
I
they
did,
just got one other person,
I did say that
then-
in my concerns, how, but I'll ask about the closing of the drop off.
Of the slot.
Locking
after
of the
hours.
slot. Locking of the slot.
There we go.
So according to them, it looks like as long as the person isn't dropping off more than one ballot, it's not an issue.
Right, if they're only dropping off one.
Yeah, that's-
then-
yeah.
So you can ask
You're
them like,
only-
is this your own?
But-
Looking
And
to see
then-
how many.
But I mean, there's also people, one main family member works in Marietta, the rest don't, and
Right.
she's bringing in all of theirs.
Maybe,
Now, if it's in that
a couple,
family,
I mean, they're not bringing like 10,
yeah,
I mean, it's usually 1 or 2.
at the most 3, I see,
Yeah, I've seen.
and that's usually family members, but making sure, I mean, we're gonna have to do probably a really good media stretch on telling people that if they are bringing in ballots for others, that they have to sign this affidavit.
Well, although if they can drop them off in the absentee ballot box, they don't have to sign the affidavit.
But it says that they're
It
not
says-
supposed to, you're not
Yeah,
supposed to
that's
drop
what
off
this
other
big
people's at the
sign,
box.
I
laminated
see.
sign from the secretary's office is telling
They're-
them.
You're only
having to
supposed to
sign
drop
it
off
says-
I mean-
something at the box.
I could say that after hours is what concerns me.
Right.
Well,
That's a good
I'm more
question.
concerned with what we have to do. In other words, we can look at the tape. I'll use this as an example,
Mhm.
that from 8 o'clock to noon today, 20 cars came by
Mhm.
and put ballots in. And when the staff goes at noon and pulls them out, there are 35 ballots. 20 cars, 35 ballots.
Mhm.
Do we have to contact the owners of all 20 cars to determine who delivered more than one? Or do we throw out all the ballots, i.e. notify the voter, we're not going to count them because someone broke the law and we don't know who. So we're going to assume all the voters broke the law.
I think that's the reason that Aaron asked for our input.
Well, I mean,
I'm not sure it
I think-
requires that.
I think it's honestly hoping that people will follow the laws posted on the box because that's what it says.
Right,
They recognize that there's video surveillance on each box and it's not staffed. So you post a notification. And that's all you can do.
Mhm.
Where's the Dropbox
right.
template?
I'm just wondering if we're gonna have to do anything after the
Is that the
fact.
form they were talking about?
I don't know, there's,
Dropbox?
because the template tells you at the Dropbox
Oh,
what
maybe
you are
that's
allowed
the
to do.
sign.
That's the
Yeah,
form.
well, what is that? Where is that? Do we have
I
that?
don't know if I have a copy of it.
Cause I didn't see it, but.
Is it on the
Get over
box
it.
now?
Yeah, we don't have it because we don't have it open yet.
Yeah, so I'm not,
Laminated one.
This is the.
This is it.
all right, that goes on the
There's your
Dropbox.
warning.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so what does it say?
you're existing, you want to see your board, okay.
Okay.
More color than print.
So that's sort of if you get.
So you can imagine if you have an eyesight problem.
Do you have a copy of the bill that, or
Because
law that,
Are you?
Yeah, I'll give it
Gonna
to you.
have half of
because that might be something good for us to do an article about.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Which there could be five, if you're just calling and drop off 5 now.
Right.
Yeah.
Have they put in,
Four husbands.
what you do, yeah, on the whole. They did, okay, I didn't see it, so.
Yeah.
They put in each other's.
So-
before they
Oh,
went.
really? Good,
Well, I
good,
mean,
good.
and only one of them's in the
I don't
car.
read the
But it says-
You know,
You
because they're frustrated, don't wanna do anything.
A letter to the other, and I talked to her, and we wanted as a.
Compliment, yeah.
I know,
I mean, that's what it's.
but I'm just saying, how many husband-wife teams are we gonna have where I have my wife's and I drive
We could
in,
just do
and
another.
I pull around and I go, they're never gonna tell, you know, I'm sticking to them in at once. My point is, if we just,
Yes,
are we gonna have some obligation to
Yeah.
check it out?
It's just, it doesn't say.
The other question is,
It was 40+ years, it was 50+ years ago if he did that. Because we've had lunch, you either filled in the ordinary session.
You're with me, I know you're fine. You're fine. Jackie's, I remember going with my mom and dad in the 60s before I went to school, Christine. And his mom would be there, I'd go behind the curtain. She used to
right, but they gotta bring in
They pulled
every,
it over.
one of the voter not only fills out their ballot,
Yeah.
So they had.
they
a
have
punch
to
card,
sign the
towers.
documents saying I
So,
give
2000.
I don't remember, you remember the old
Bring my
thing.
ballot.
2004
We put in the old, yeah.
The hanging chads, that's why they got rid of all those machines.
when you-
It's my 2004 is my
Don't you remember,
Right.
well, you're not, you're too young to remember the punch card machine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, 2004.
You put it through the machine.
When we first moved
Yeah,
here,
all
just
I
Jack
was-
came up and asked me how to use it. He didn't know how to use that
Nursing
machine.
homes.
Which one was it?
He
This
said,
is
well, he
too
thought,
much
he used to
of a-
have the old
Oh,
Yeah,
the
they-
punch, yeah.
And he came
I
out and
I think my first time
You know,
voting.
we don't want
It was
to,
approve and deliver, or
I
you
mean,
put in
the
the card and then you punched.
I'm
but
trying to.
whatever it was,
yeah.
created
It's like, well,
a-
I
And
was
it's
just
fast.
Athens.
I mean, this is all,
But
I mean, it was
that's
ancient, but it's punch card.
Okay,
So-
but-
All right.
Okay. Stuff and then that was-
Yeah, no, it's been basically, it's machine count, it has been machine
Yeah.
counted for at least 40,
How did you get the
50 years.
results out on those punch cards?
We never had them when I worked.
Yeah, see, that was back in the eighties, I mean, they got rid
Do
of
you remember
that.
how you
see,
got the
after
results
the
out of
punch
the
cards,
punch
then we
machines
go to
for the
paper
leather
ballots
machines?
and the old,
I mean, it just
ES and
reproduced.
S, M100.
Yeah, they created the
So
cards,
at that
the cards.
point, every election he had, he used a paper ballot, because that's what we did. They just weren't hand counted, they were counted by
By
an
machine.
M100.
Well, so, he's talking about that one, but, well, or the
You might
older
have thought
type.
they were hand
But they
counted, but they were
They
M100
were.
counted, because we used those machines for what, 18 years, Peggy?
Thank you.
It was a long time, right?
Didn't they start in 2006?
But I thought it was
Well, I
after,
think
was
the
it,
M100 was
Bush
before
or
2006.
Maybe.
two thousand? Because the HAVA Act came about as a result of 2000.
I think Jim told me, I thought, Huckabee said at one point, I think we had him 18 years. Or maybe that was Oklahoma. I don't
So,
I know there was
but
some-
prior to the scanning part, you had the punch cards and the oval that created the punch card. I mean, you know, you had all of that. So it's been machine counted for at least 50 years.
Well, but
At
I'm
least
just
50.
saying, again, I wasn't here, trust me, and when I grew up, you had the lever.
Mhm.
But even that created a card that was counted.
Well, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
that's
what
that- that
created
created-
this.
Peggy said that they produced a report. So it was,
See,
So that would-
at ours, you went to the back of the machine and it told you you would move, it was locked.
Each number.
They slid and it gave you the results.
Each machine. Okay.
Oh, now there's Joe.
It's counted. Anyway,
It was a mechanical system.
Well, the other directive there, the 2024-22 expedited canvas and certification.
Oh, wait, before we move off, because we're all having side notes. Dennis and I were talking about letting the nursing homes know about,
signing. the forms,
so we
yeah.
send them an attestation so that they can print them and have them ready. And tell them if you're gonna be bringing batches over, it has to be the following
Have this,
person
you have
in
to
the
have this
office.
for each
and
person, yeah.
Have the attestation, that way they're not caught off guard and.
so we sent a bipartisan team out to do our nursing homes. They need to sign
Some of them, they do it
No,
themselves.
the ones for them to do on their own.
The ones they do on their
The one
own.
that they do on their own.
Oh, okay.
We send them the
If they're
form.
going to do it on their own, this
We
is
send
how
them
you have to
this,
do it.
send it along with it.
Okay.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
the notice, the posting that explains what you have to do. If you're gonna bring it in for residents.
And I'm interested in knowing who this.
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Expedited canvas or engineering.
Yes, so.
Is this expedited mean faster?
Yes. So we have to complete our certification of results. And submit all reports to the Secretary of State's office no later than 2 p.m. on Wednesday, November 20th.
So everybody look at your calendars and see what we need to do our.
It has to be 6.
What's the other date? Don't we have
Then
that
we might as well go
4-day
ahead and make one
date?
for the
Well,
audit
we
as
have
well.
to, the fourth day after the election will be Saturday, November 9th, which we will be open 8 to 5 that day for people to cure their ballots if they have any deficiencies.
So we're looking at November.
And is that something we meet?
By November
No,
20th.
you guys don't.
All right, sometime between, well, so the 5th is election day.
Between the ninth.
Sometime after the ninth,
No,
yeah.
so, and ninth, okay, so
Cause it says.
the 11th, the
The
Veterans
official-
Day.
The official canvass must begin no earlier than the 6th day after the election, which is November 11th.
So,
So we
11th
can
is
start
Veterans
on
Day.
Veterans.
So the 12th
through the 20th.
The 12th is okay.
I can do this well.
I can do the 12th. Our regular
I can do
meeting is the
12th.
13th.
Oh, we'll just, since we all like that so far, see if.
The 12th, I can do the 12th.
Can we make that a regular meeting then as well?
Yes. Well,
let's
yes.
see.
That's what election
Is
is.
Adam?
Can you do
I have,
the
I have a hearing that morning, but someone else can cover it.
Okay, 12th is good.
12th is it.
All right.
It's good to have one.
8:30.
This is for certification.
And, what time? You wanna start at 8? Is this the one that we're doing the provisionals?
Yeah.
We're gonna have a ton of provisionals because
All right.
history tells
That's
us
fine.
that we may have sent out a lot of,
It could be tea.
Yeah.
we're gonna be sending out a lot of absentees,
Yeah.
but a bunch of people are gonna show up and vote.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just been our experience.
So
They
we'll.
they won't send the ballot in, but we'll have to do a provisional.
So we wanna
I
do,
did,
go
I
ahead and
got
do
it
the
till
audit as
11.
well.
You
I think-
can't do the audit.
No, I
Do you?
mean, pick a
Okay.
date for the audit. Wanna go ahead and set a date for the audit?
When's that gotta be done?
I need to look up what would
All
be
right.
the timeline after.
Okay, so after that, how many days after that? So it has to be after the 16th?
Mandy's gonna look
Yeah,
at
let
the
me go look back
timeline.
and see.
While she's doing that, I'll be honest, I have always thought that at the end of the day, I know we took pictures, the machines take pictures, but I really thought that you looked at the paper.
We could do that.
And I think we ought to be looking at the paper. Because if you want to go through their concern, if you can tinker with that code at the bottom, then you could tinker with the image, you could just tell it you're gonna print. You know, here's what the image is gonna look like, even though over here it's gonna register differently.
I don't mind.
I don't mind, I mean, we can look at the
I
actual
agree.
ballots.
I think if we look at the paper and we say,
Look at the paper.
handle
But here-
the paper
Here's the
that the
problem, of
voter,
course.
handle.
Here's the problem.
I agree.
Our papers are done by voting location, not by precinct.
Right,
So we'd have
it's gonna be work.
we'd have to sort through each precinct or each ballot, each precinct location
You're right.
and divide it up by precincts.
But it was
Right.
just
But I think
audit,
it's worth it.
So it's just more
Okay.
simple.
I think it's worth it.
I think it's worth it. I think it
Well,
takes away,
What I'm asking then, if we could keep the extra help.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'd
They
have
could
to.
come in and we could
Absolutely.
divide them in by.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what you'd have to do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
And depending on
Yep.
the sample size, the 4 of us can also be.
okay.
I would do that beforehand. Divide them in the precinct.
Oh, yeah.
Beforehand.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
have
when
them
we
all
bring
bundled
the
up.
precincts, they're
Bundled up.
already ready.
They're already-
And
Already
make
separated
sure
by
at least
precinct.
they do a physical hand count.
Okay.
At least the physical hand count about the ballots being the correct number per precinct.
Balance during audits.
Must follow the bids, isn't it?
I mean, because way back in the day when we had M100s, it was the paper we were looking at.
Mhm,
Because there was no picture
mhm.
and so forth. It's just with this new equipment, said, well, you can take a snapshot
Oh,
of the
that's
picture.
all I'll tell you later.
So when do we have to do the audit? What's the time?
If there's no recount, it may start 6 days after the official results are declared.
So if we do the official on the
Yeah, it
12th,
must be done within 21 days.
so if we do it on the 12th, so we can do the audit starting on like the 18th,
Mhm,
right? Is that how
Yep.
I'm reading that?
yes.
Yeah, 6 days.
All right, so let's see.
So that's
After.
You would do it on the 19th.
When's Thanksgiving?
I got,
It's the 27th.
and we have to be done by when?
Well, we have to certify by the 20th.
Well, we've done that on the
So
12th.
so that's already covered.
Right.
So the audit, they don't say when you have to do the audit by.
Oh,
Well, there's no expedited for that. anyway.
all right, so we can do the audit whenever.
Mhm.
So The 20th is best for me that day. The 19th
Because to be
I've got
honest,
stuff
don't you
all
think
day
the
long.
audit's gonna take us longer depending? 'cause
Well, if we do it by hand and not on the.
They would like
computer,
for
it's
us to
gonna take
actually
longer.
look at the ballots. We're gonna keep the health.
Yeah, but the audit's gonna be done by the time you arrive.
So would you pick?
But I mean,
the
it'll
audit-
take us time,
Would
as
you
long as
pick
we
it,
have time to
could you
do
pick
it.
the audit stuff at?
You pick it at certification.
Yeah, we can do that on the
Okay,
12th, so
okay,
you
that's
have,
Well, is the
you have a
20th
week to
good?
get
I'm
it
good,
done.
okay.
I think it would be okay.
It can.
That's Kevin's wife. I forget her name, but that's his wife.
Okay.
21st is a Thursday, the 22nd is a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do the 20th of November. I mean,
Well, I'm just
that's
looking
already
at
those days are
20,
okay.
21, 22.
I could do the 20th.
20th.
The 20th, as long as it doesn't run into lunchtime.
Yeah, if we do, well, we wouldn't though, because we're just talking about the audit, so.
Yeah, we're just giving you the results.
Yeah,
right?
so it just
Right,
would be.
so it'd be 8:30 in and out.
Okay,
Okay. So
all right,
that's
so
the
the
20th?
20th, okay,
Is that November?
yes.
So 8:30, or if do you have stuff that anyone got 9 o'clock
8:30 is fine,
works? Okay.
okay. But 8 AM for the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to,
Because we're gonna be busy.
it's gonna take time. The sooner we start
Mhm.
getting through stuff, the sooner people can start working out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for that. That's good. We have those.
Okay.
So we got
Solid.
it in now. And if we're gonna meet on the 12th, do we cancel the 13th board meeting?
Or yeah, because we'll do because the monthly meeting will be on election day. We switched to election day.
Oh, that's right, oh, so we don't have to, so we don't
Yeah,
have
so
to
we
do
don't
it,
have to do it.
okay,
So we don't have to do the.
Makes perfect sense, yeah. So I can take that off that day, on the
Yes,
13th.
for me.
Are you looking? I'm not, I'm just, no, I'm looking at all these things, I want to try to get it right.
Yeah.
That I did get received, because it was printout from
I
the
couldn't
hotel.
find it in
This event only.
I mean, I can double check through my stuff, but I looked through like my background.
I think in the future, I'm gonna have them copy me
If they could
on all of
email
those
it
receipts, so we
to
don't have
us,
to bug
yeah,
you
so
guys
we
to get
have.
those.
Maybe we could call up there and probably get it.
Oh, you didn't turn in your
I
hotel
just
receipt?
did on the spot.
I thought you did too. You had mine, right? You got mine, because we
got
got
it
it.
at the same time.
Right, and I gave it to you. Yeah.
I don't know.
You, see, on our dinner, so that's the other thing.
See, I couldn't find
I-
my
you
receipt,
took
any
it.
dinner receipt.
Yeah, but then I gave it, how did she get yours?
Well, I didn't find the dinner.
I gave her,
receipt.
all I had was the hotel.
Yeah, I didn't find the dinner receipt for,
Oh, you're talking about dinner?
well, and hotel, both.
Oh, dinner I might have, but
That's, you have the hotel, you couldn't find her
I
hotel?
couldn't find, or.
Oh, well, that's
yeah,
easy
I
enough to
couldn't find
get. You can
hotel,
get the
but we
Yeah, we
can
can
get
get
it.
that from the hotel, so
Yeah,
don't worry
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
I mean,
So it's the dinner receipt is what she did.
okay, well.
if we
I
can
have it, I have
get to
it.
the,
Not a big deal.
I don't know how you get to actually the front desk at Hilton anymore.
Yeah. Usually get, but they should even be able to get that for us.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, anyway, sorry.
So, what do we got next?
The contract there with RBM, and that's the company they're using this called Integrated Voting Systems. We're just waiting on it, we've sent that to the Secretary of State, and they needed some kind of vendor form filled out, the Secretary of State did, we're waiting to get that back from them. But otherwise, that's good. We do have, this is our second proof of the ballots. That we need to go through and double check again, if you guys would like to look at those, that's for the whole year.
This is just the statewide, this is
The
the
one you guys
actual.
would have looked at was
This is the actual.
the first brief, this is the second brief.
This is the
That's,
third.
this
or-
is what the Secretary of State gives us on how it's supposed to be laid out.
And we are gonna have 2 pages.
I know, that really sucks.
Yeah.
There it is.
Well, you couldn't make the print much smaller than it is.
Oh, no, no, no.
No, we,
Yeah,
no,
this
we
is our
want to.
instructions.
And boy, are those old
Our headings
faint.
and all the
Well, I think
formatting.
when they do on regular paper, they do, but I think they
That's
do,
right.
they are
They do
darker
print
on the
differently.
stock.
Okay,
Yeah, they are.
because I was gonna say, that's pretty darn.
Yeah, that's just from our
Vague.
printer.
So are we gonna end up with the two?
Yeah, that's what these ones are, 2
Yeah, 2
pages.
pages.
There's no way around this.
So,
What's this amendment?
this is the districting.
Well.
Now we're the commission.
Long enough.
Yeah, gosh, I
I'm
thought
not
they were supposed to do
elected.
that shorter and it's not.
The ballot board wanted something different.
Created an appointed redistricting commission, not elected by or subject to removal by the voters.
Sir. Is this one printed on a different machine?
Yeah.
Who are they?
I don't know, it definitely tells different.
When it's printed on our regular printer.
I know it's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is markedly better.
Well,
That's
this
just
one
the
doesn't, you don't have
sample.
vice president, you just vote for one. This one has, you have to vote for both of them. And this one, it just has you choose one. Oh, that's what it shows. It shows ovals for both. Look at this.
Ovals for both?
You can't stop.
Well, that's
on the
something
other.
that we can change on there. Like I said,
No,
that's
it's
our
got
second
one.
group.
Oh, it just has
No,
one.
it's fine.
Oh, yeah, okay,
No,
all
it's
right,
right.
all right. It just looks better on that
I've
one.
never heard of voting
How
both.
come,
It's right.
how come,
You,
oh, well. Oh, this is the state.
That's
state-
just the
That's the
state.
state.
It has the
Okay.
That's our
all right.
instructions of how we're
So-
They have, we have ours at the top.
Okay,
Instructions.
What it said was.
okay, all right. So it's all good.
Yeah.
You have liquor options.
We do for,
New map.
Market.
New map.
This poor people can get their beer.
They want it bad. Didn't they pass last time? I thought all the beers
No.
passed.
It's never
Because
bad.
the carry out that's just right outside the village is always going against.
Same
Oh.
people.
I don't want competition. Okay. Well, I'm sure glad that we voted for, the Staley's to have liquor license. They're still not open. They're still not open to go. They've been temporarily closed since November of 23. They have not been open since November of 2023.
But the meat.
The meat part is, yeah, but their market is not open where they're selling, supposedly gonna sell the beer and wine. Well, the meat part, well, they have a meat processing plant there. And then they have the market side it, so you just have to call the meat place and you can order meat from them, but the market itself is not open. So they have this wonderful liquor license, but not operating.
Well, hopefully they can get it.
Well, and that's like the thing, we
All my
always
neighbors are like,
status of
what's
the
going
place
on
out
here?
in
We wanna be able to go
Tennessee.
there. Well, they used to have nice, they had a nice lunch, they had a great
Well, I wonder why they
hot
still don't
dog
sell
and
that.
hamburger.
Because they could at least do that.
You think.
Because they're not selling.
And we used to actually go there and buy pork chops because they had nice,
Yeah.
wonderful, nice pork chops, but.
Well, that's like the place out on the pike. That,
The tennis center?
Yeah, the tennis center.
Are they open
are
yet?
they do their,
No, they're done, more.
Oh.
I don't know that they haven't listed that yet, but they're ready.
oh, okay.
That's good.
So did their liquor thing go through?
Yeah.
Everything was good. Oh, God, that's like.
Yeah, that's for,
Yeah.
what's his name?
Cameron.
Or it's just not tail off.
Oh, no. You deserve everything.
I had it in my hands and it just
And it
pulled
just-
apart.
Well, I still think they could
That's
have
a
done a
vulnerability.
little better research.
Yeah.
If they had gone to the newspaper, you could have figured that out. I mean, I'm sure it was all
So this
reported
is
in
a
the
budget.
newspaper.
Yeah.
All right, so what's next?
So I put in here, a copy of the,
Do they have to vote to certify the ballots?
actually, we do need to certify.
Oh, okay, I moved to certify the ballots.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right.
Now in there, I did include, at the top there, what we might not be paying for postage if the commissioners cover the 7,500 there. For that postage, so we could probably subtract that out. The other bills are ones we either already have or will be upcoming. And those are estimates based on what we've paid in the past. For the same services. We do have. We got our check for the reimbursement for June. for the June election, which was 43,000 something, I think 43,700. Which I can get the exact number if you need me to. But so that, we'll get that back. I've sent a letter to the commissioners, so they'll go to their meeting tomorrow. To move that money over into contract services so we can use that money.
And everyone except Robin is going to the conference, winter conference.
So yeah, so I put that on here, what we would pay for winter conference, so that was for 7 people. For the rest of the board, and then staff, permanent staff to attend. I mean, if you take off, let's see.
7,500.
If you take off.
74, 814, 52.
Yeah, so if you take off the 43,000 we would get, and then
Oh,
the
we'll take another
75.
43 out of that?
Well, because that's the money we got back from June.
For
So
paying
we'll
for the
have
June
that to
election.
use. So I mean, that comes up to close to 31,814, so basically 32.
Okay, yeah, that's.
And then we got 7,000 for poll worker training. Which basically, we're just gonna put into the coofers since we're doing the training. Coffers, excuse me, coofer is a closet according to my mother-in-law. Never heard of her. Coofer. She goes, go to the coofer and get some. Coffers.
Okay,
Mm.
all right, so do we want to prove that?
So that's
This is just an
if we-
update for us.
So this is what we would want to ask the commissioners
All
for.
right,
Oh, and we're also, they're asking us to meet with them for next year, so if anybody wants
Does
to
it include
meet with the
poll
commissioners
worker
on the
training?
budget.
We have to add that in
Yeah.
as well.
We still have money, let me see, we still have our. That was from July, but we still had in our poll worker expenses, I think about $20,000, so I think we still had enough. To pay our poll workers and everything. I mean, if you think we need to add any, I mean, if anybody thinks we need to add any money, I mean.
Mine blew apart.
I can go get it up and then.
Again, we're not gonna spend it on a frivolous item if we didn't need it. So would it be better
So
to ask
anything-
once, to ask for more, explaining that whatever we don't use, obviously
We would
we're
return.
returning, so. Rather than bother them twice, we bother them once,
So
is
that's,
my question.
So when
For
we
you
go
folks.
meet with them for next year's budget,
No, for this, I thought,
yeah, we need the money for this year's.
oh,
This
okay,
year.
oh,
This is
okay,
for this
okay.
year.
let's.
oh,
let's
so we're
not-
over what we originally had our budget for this year?
Yeah,
Yeah, because we had that
Yeah,
60
we won't.
grand for that maintenance contract with
what's RDM.
RBM, that was part of the package of when we bought the machines. But the 5 years are up and time to pay the piper.
So we've paid them, but now that doesn't leave us enough money for everything
Oh,
else.
because we didn't have that in the.
Right.
We didn't have that in the
Included
forecast.
But we'd
Oh, I
like
see.
to include that in our one for next year.
And how long is that? Is that a 5-year maintenance then? So we don't have to worry about that for another 5 years?
No, that's
No, that's
yearly.
yearly.
So we gotta put that in there.
Yeah, so we gotta put that in our, yeah.
All right, so my question is, if we're looking for money, how much more? You said 32, is there anything else you're concerned about not having them? In other words, should we ask for 40, telling them we really think the number's 32, but rather than come back,
Right.
we'd ask for 40?
I mean, in case we're paying, I guess, for, we'll be paying extra for, our staff to help us, extra help for voting.
Right,
And then in case, we will have some extra poll workers this time.
and we're
So
gonna
we can
extend,
include for the.
right, and that staff's gonna get extended because of the short times and the fact that we're gonna do paper,
Mhm.
that paper audit.
Right,
So
We might
that's
use
my
it to
only
knock it down.
suggestion, but I would be honest with them and say, we think the number's 32, but we're asking for 40, so we just don't have to come back.
Right.
And if we don't
And we'll
use it,
return
we'll
whatever.
obviously return everything we don't use.
So what's the suggested ask?
Well, I'm asking you, I'm just
I mean,
suggesting you
think
tell me.
that's- Yeah, I think 40, or even if we went to 42,
All
I
right,
think would be.
That sounds fine.
so make it
42.
42 and then.
Make sure we can,
42.
make sure we can
Make
justify
sure
it,
we get it.
right? Make sure it's based upon
Yeah, and I can give them this,
projections.
you know, and, how
With
much
an
we'll be
explanation
paying,
of the-
yeah, and what kind of extra
Right.
staff we'll be having and that kind of thing.
Right.
So.
All right, works for me.
Ma'am.
We good?
Attorney.
So you need a motion?
Yes.
You mentioned.
I would say if you
Yeah.
guys.
All right, I so
Nice.
move,
Good.
I move that we ask for an additional 42,000
Second.
for the county.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
You had mentioned that Butler County, they did a simulation
Mhm.
for paper ballots.
Yes.
So that way we can potentially look at that in our,
But they determined it was not,
right, and I'd like to look at it. It's
I think their
available.
determination was that it was not.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, not, I shouldn't say ridiculous.
Very
it was old.
costly, time consuming.
Time.
Yeah, I was.
But like, I can access that.
You can
Okay.
count
All right.
ballots.
I'd like to look at it.
Yeah, how can you count them fast? Because you do have to double. I mean, you have to count them twice
Yeah,
if you're having humans do it.
Sorry to dredge that back up, but I just,
Well,
I
that's
thought, you know,
what she was talking about.
I'd like to look at it.
You know.
well, it sounded like they had some
Like,
kind
how
of
many-
camera over them.
Yeah. No, that was in Texas. That was in
Doesn't make
Texas.
it go fast.
I would like to see that too.
Yeah.
The Texas one?
Yeah.
It just proves,
Where they said that it was
Just curious.
very efficient. I can't imagine it
How
being
many
efficient.
Well, I don't know what, you know, you wonder whether they have a different.
Well, you'd have to have- I mean, if you-
Curious to see what it
I mean, a
is.
human can only go as fast as the
Yeah.
computer.
Right,
To do
and-
it properly.
And,
But if you- I wonder if they pass it down.
and you're gonna have people to work
That's what I
from
wondered, yeah.
9 o'clock at night
But if it says
to,
that, make sure.
5 a.m.
You see it.
I mean, they're gonna be on the graveyard shift,
Ourselves and
right? They're gonna be here from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. counting. And I'm not sure I wanna ever count anything I counted at 2 a.m.
Yeah, 2 a.m.
That would be on the shift fresh eyes.
I mean,
And do we know if that Butler County simulation was for a general election?
I'm not sure, but I guess we can take their numbers.
We can look at their numbers.
And extrapolate
Right.
it to our.
They, Butler County has had a large group attend their meetings.
So they've
Yeah.
had this issue.
With the same.
So,
kind of
so
issues.
Karen, can you talk to Butler and?
Yeah, I'll
get
get Butler.
see if they-
Yes.
Yeah, get a report.
yeah,
Copy
and
of
I
their
wanted
report.
to know about the hockey as well, the cheat sheet. Because that's a term of art.
Yes,
Sometimes it's not
It's
always a,
Yeah.
Right,
I mean, we've all probably used that at some point.
it's a checkoff list.
And
It's a checkoff list on what you're doing, what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I think that was in the documentation I did,
That's just the.
Kevin, the last round.
Yeah,
So I didn't see
I know, so
the,
they.
I didn't see the actual
I
verification.
didn't see it and I made a note and I
Thank you.
even said call Hawk and then I
I would like to see
forgot
that
to
too.
make the call, so I know you probably.
Yeah, I'll
You call it a cheat sheet, but it's really just a reminder.
Find out what.
Turn on machine,
It's
da-da-da-da,
just- it's just-
da-da-da.
it's
It's just a
instructions.
procedural
It's a-
instruction.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I'm guessing.
The other thing is, I don't think
Yeah,
we
check.
can educate the voter beyond this wonderful plain language
Right.
that appears on every ballot about
No, it's
coloring
me.
and
Oh.
label.
Right.
There's
My
a
eye
certain
doctor says me.
population that are,
Notices.
they're not gonna
Brings
read
me
it, and
notices.
or they read it and go, it doesn't apply to
To
I
me.
don't know, I know how to do it.
I'm
I know
different.
how to do it.
Yeah.
Plus it's postage.
We do post it and then look at instructions
And about
poster in every home.
People's right to have a Google ballot.
Every election.
Every
We've done
election.
that
Supposed to
for-
tell everyone that?
Well, ever
Since I
since I've,
recall,
yeah.
Okay, but I mean.
But you're just, there's gonna be a certain group
Yeah, we,
that,
no, we don't
Okay.
tell people.
I mean, that's like
I don't know.
common knowledge, I think, but,
Apparently not.
and
okay.
Well, we
I'm just
could,
saying,
we could put a
those
little
are the
sign up
lawsuits
or
that
whatever,
they
saying
get
like to cross the parent ballot. If
The
we don't want to go back to
that.
well, I'm just saying, that's what this would be. Oh, that's a mark.
Well, they don't read instructions, why would they read that?
Put up a sign.
You know,
Yeah, we do put
it's not
like,
for me.
I'll put up a little sign that
Put up a
says,
sign.
gives it-
you know,
Don't we,
I'm in favor of this candidate.
you know, in that kiosk thing, not kiosk,
My guy.
this thing that we put up with all
Yeah,
the
the
instructions,
announcements.
just put it in there, put it right on there.
You know,
Where we put our
but you get.
table ballots. and-
Yeah, all of that stuff, it has all the information we can put on there, everyone has a right to request a paper
Ours and
ballot.
these or
Right,
whatever.
that way everyone knows,
And
and
it's like,
they have the option.
Pursuant to RC,
Now you
blah,
have
blah,
the
you have a right to
jury.
request a paper
But
ballot.
do
And
make
then
sure.
if the jury's
make sure what
built
the
up of people that are,
No.
They're the same.
So
Yeah.
so
Yes.
yeah, they don't say, what are you talking about? No,
Yeah,
they should
so,
know.
yeah, so there's not confusion if someone asks, they're like, no.
I know, I said that's I can't,
That's
I'll
what they
phone
want.
you, phone it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
They want to see what they got.
Yeah, that's next. Contract renewal, do we have to do something on that?
Yeah, that's just, we did send it to.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, well, we sent it back, because we had to add a security addendum, and then, the changes you guys had.
Right,
So we had to send that back, and actually, I forgot to bring in a copy of it, so I can go get that.
did they accept all of our changes?
That's what I need to double check what, Daniel Everson said. But they, RVM, or not RVM, Runback did accept all of the changes that we made, yeah, and they put it into the contract.
Okay,
So I can go get that, so you guys can read over.
well, I mean, I'd wanna compare it to what Daniel said and make sure that it,
Make sure it did get,
yeah, has somebody done that?
that's, I had started to look at it. And then I haven't got 100%.
Do we have to do this week? Or
Actually, it
this
probably should be at this meeting, because we want to do it before we start, doing any voting in our next meeting. will
so
be
which contract are you speaking of?
The, Runback one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And Runback prints the ballots.
well, they'll do, we use their printer, we print them here. Yeah.
Right. Well,
But they
don't
they
print
do the
ballots,
setup for it, so
they
that
just
we use
set
their
up-
machine.
We use their machine to print the ballots.
Yeah, to print our,
Right.
if someone asks for a paper ballot in the office and any of our absentees that we will mail.
And they do not have anything to do, they do not have anything to do with voting, tallying of votes or anything.
No, they do not tally any votes.
This is all front end.
Yeah, and they
Printing
never
ballots.
handle any votes.
Okay, 'cause I know Mr. Torres had mentioned Runback. I just
Now,
wanna,
in
I wanna make sure it was
Arizona,
on the
Right,
front
they
end.
might, but not here.
Okay.
With us. Yeah. So, let me go grab, print that off.
Um,
And then I don't know if you
I'll
wanna
go
go
ahead and
over like
talk
the
about the
worker
poll.
numbers you could do.
I don't think we're gonna get the supply bags because we've been working.
Okay.
yes.
So we're kind of ditching that idea this
Yeah.
time, okay.
Maybe next time.
How are we doing on poll work?
We have 139 right now. And
139.
139, I'm sorry, I didn't turn this way. 139 poll workers. We got, because they can apply online through the secretary or our website. I've gotten probably 10 of those just yesterday, so we look every day. And then
So
when
we may
they,
have more, so.
we may have more,
so
and I
I'm-
haven't even started on the youth.
Well,
So I think we're gonna hit 160 without a problem.
Okay,
Well, I thought we needed 200.
Well, we did, I thought of that because of having 50 precincts and you can get 4 workers per precinct. If we go above, that's fine, but because the Secretary of State makes you add on 15%. And I was just afraid if I added on to get to 200, they start yelling at us. So I scaled it back because we're gonna go over what my bare minimum is. But see, when you add on that 15%, then, you know, and like I said, like one election, I didn't hit that goal and they were calling quite frequently.
So the 160 though is like we're comfortable.
Oh, I'm very
Based upon the
comfortable with
past, based upon
160.
past
I mean-
poll workers, based upon.
Say Lower Salem does not need, that's 2 precincts. I've got 9 people working. I don't need any more there.
Okay.
You know, I am finding that I'm kind of Democrat heavy in the fairgrounds.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to probably send some of those Dems, I need them in Belpre, I need them at Warren. I know a lot of people don't like to travel, but you know, when I tell them, we'll pay your mileage and everything. So right now, it's a balancing act of who needs to go where.
Okay.
And
We're still open to more poll.
oh my, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I up until training, I mean, I may even have to do some private training.
People might
for some
drop
people.
out, I mean, they get
Yeah.
sick, they
Yeah.
get,
Yeah, so I want that amount at the very least, so. But like I say, I mean, there's just, the Career Center, they only have 3 precincts. So that would be 3 is 12, and I think I've got that many, but again, they're really heavy on the Republican side and not the Democrat side.
Yeah, and there's a limit to how many folks you can stuff in an area, so to speak,
Yeah,
for purposes of what they're going to do and be efficient.
mhm,
When we get these larger conglomerates of folks, you end up, when we visit, there are a lot of folks that are sort of standing and sitting. They're not all being actively working because there's a limit to the number of jobs that actually exist. And so they're on and they're off is the kind of
and I like how
that works.
Mike does it down at the fairgrounds. He has his people working the poll pads. He has the people working the paper ballot and the provisional table. And then he's got the rest of them kind of just standing up there, and when a voter comes up, they direct them to which machine they need to go to.
they escort them.
So, but you want to have enough also to give people breaks,
Right.
So.
But I'm just saying that some of those, when you say, well, it's 4 per precinct,
Mhm,
it turns out to be a ton of people.
yeah,
And they're not all needed, so you can sometimes scale back.
yeah.
But please get with the youth, because
Oh,
Warren,
my, yes, I'm seeing
Warren,
them out
for
this week.
instance,
I just was waiting
usually
for
has
schools.
a big turnout.
Yep. And that's, I'm speaking to Waterford High School on the 17th. Because we've never gotten Waterford students, and I've even talked to the government teacher. He goes, Karen, I try. I tell them they'll get paid. I said, well, maybe if I go and explain it, maybe we'll get some interest. And then I'm also speaking to Ewing School.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is that for their adult?
yeah, it'd be for people that can vote.
So I'm gonna speak to
Yeah.
them as well. I need to let them know about the
Yeah, run that.
Do we
Yeah.
have a sign up at the precinct?
This is
that people
the
can ask for?
original contract when we first.
We're talking about that, and we are going to incorporate that
This
this
is the
time.
one.
We're gonna have it over there, we're gonna have the
that we
sample
changed
ballots
from.
and all the other information for voters, we'll have it there.
This is their update
Or election protection, like do.
to that.
So we got one.
Peacekeeping,
So, yeah, this was
Is
the
this
one,
the-
I know an
this is the one that
Well,
we
we
looked at
are-
first.
I
at the
am
last
meeting with
meeting.
the
So this is their
DOC
update.
and the sheriff's department,
There's
ODOT,
There's that
the
letter.
engineer,
This is
next
the
Friday, where we're going to
security
have a safety meeting and talking about, we're also gonna do de-escalation techniques.
All right, this is the new
We're
one.
incorporating that into the poll worker training. So what does that
Right.
one's doing?
And then this is.
So there's just like a
He was saying
national
about
network
the
called election
security.
protection, and so they have like the vote 411 hotline number, people can call if they have like questions about polling locations, but I volunteer with really just sitting a lawn chair outside of polling locations. Make sure you know, like,
So did they
flags are coming
change
through,
the
but
date?
also people are.
We haven't had them change like answer yet. I don't know if that's really, and if you guys think that's necessary.
Yeah.
He just got
Make sure
back
that
to us with this, so we haven't had.
Like,
a
if
chance to-
We are there to monitor to ensure no one's like blocking it with.
If you guys.
And
Yeah.
other things, but also if
Yeah.
people have questions like, is this my polling location, other things like that.
The agenda came out in 22, which is why it says.
We've never done that. Usually when they come in and ask, I mean, because we tell them when they check
You
in,
have the original?
we give them where
This is
their
the
polling
original.
location is, so.
And then this is his latest,
I think so.
mostly
I
about
think
that.
so. They're allowed to bring guns into the polls.
You can into a
Carrie
court
could-
building. You can into a court building.
Well,
I think if
deputies,
it's a building that would maybe allow that.
deputies,
We'll find that out next Saturday,
I mean,
or
it
next
should be like
Friday when I meet with the
If
sheriff.
we brandished it, I don't think, I mean.
Right.
Well, that would entice,
concealed carry.
that
I mean,
might
if it's, yeah.
route people wasn't fine with.
I would- and I wanted that back.
Yeah, no,
Walking
that's
around with a
allowed,
gun like.
yeah.
But
Well,
maybe not like
It
that.
seemed to me at one point you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
His deputies
Yeah.
aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a question.
They didn't have that license, concealed
Yeah,
carry
that was a-
license anymore. 'Cause
If
it's-
they-
There's a change in the law that allows.
I know.
Talking about something.
That's about the
I have
Yeah.
friends that say, I want protection there, and I have.
So we
friends that say,
added
no,
those.
that's too
Yeah, because the
intimidating.
state required that with
So,
any new contract.
I'm gonna talk to
This
them.
was our first
So
one.
that's our, okay.
And kind of, he was talking about the year where it's still, where it says 22, but that's when the state started requiring it. So I don't know if that's a.
Take care.
Okay. Right, so he's reviewed it all and says it's all okay.
Did he talk at all about reviewing the revised contract?
I don't think he did.
Well, they put back in what we
What we
wanted.
wanted, right?
I think really he was pretty much okay with it, they're just.
Okay.
They put in what we requested.
What we
They
requested, yes.
put on that appendix or the addenda.
And they added the
exhibit,
security
The
addendum.
security, cybersecurity.
Okay, I vote to approve the contract renewal as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Okay.
I was just check marking.
So with the new supply bags, then are we
We're not.
taking it
Yeah,
off?
that's-
Taking it off.
That's on hold for a while.
Yeah,
Maybe next year.
we'll
Maybe
see.
next year.
NCOA process.
Yeah, that's the one, we kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier with the directives. We have the letters, and they come already folded, printed and folded for us from Triad. So we just need to stuff them in the envelopes, and then get them out.
How many did you say?
There is it's like 24 or 50, I think. So that will be sent
You just
out.
let us know when you're gonna be doing that and if any of us.
When do they have to be
can-
out?
can-
I need to look in the directive to see what day.
I think it was,
That was,
we may need more help next year, besides just Sheila.
What number was it?
it was 19. Cause it's like mailing notice.
Yeah. They're always mailed to, okay, but it doesn't say when.
That's what I was looking at. Confirmations are mailed to the address.
Oh, we have to send it no later than September 20th.
What number is this?
Okay.
So by next Friday,
A week from Friday. Okay, so just tell us,
What is NC?
It stands for National Change of Address, that information comes from the post office, is where the state receives it from the postal service. And then, they pass it down to each county. And then we go through and check that against our voter records. Because some of the people may have already changed their address, and so of course they don't get a letter then if they've already updated, so.
So when you said 19 to 24, is that 1,000?
It's 2,400, about 20, yeah, it's about 2,450, so about 2,450. And then we're asking those people, some of those people just haven't voted for a long time, so we're just checking to make sure they still live at their address, or for them to update their address. And then some of them, are people, that we think have moved, so we're asking them to confirm if they
I
have.
feel like that should be done earlier than just,
it says by September 20th.
Yeah, so we try to do
Then
it,
you miss them.
yeah, we try to do it every year.
And-
Try to do it as late as possible.
Right, because you want to capture it, that's right, I make sure.
I'm just saying that it only gives them until October 7th then to update their address or
Well, I think they
re-register.
can update the address later, they just can't change to it.
But I mean, if they update
Yeah,
after,
they're already
then
registered
they'll
to vote.
Yeah, they're registered to vote.
So,
So they don't have to be by October 7th?
well, no, they can still
No, they're
vote,
already
they would vote
registered.
provisional though that
Okay.
way.
Yeah, usually
because they're
it's
still
a ballot,
We're trying to,
Right, I mean, because
this tries to alleviate the fact that
We
we have.
want to reduce
provisional.
provisionals as much as possible.
Yeah,
Is what we want to do, so we don't have to go up to.
so we could put that in one of our articles, if
Yeah.
you moved,
Be sure, yeah,
Or change your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna we're waiting for some more envelopes from Hyde Brothers, but we do have some, so maybe we can go ahead and start stuffing some.
Okay.
The absentee ballot application numbers, we were up to, just when we came into the meeting, we had input, yes, whatever the correct language is. About 2,200 and I think 25, I think Melissa said. So we have
A stack
of about this many
And
more
today's mail
to
hasn't come
input.
yet.
And those are requests.
Those are requests for ballots, yeah.
So that first mailing is gonna
And the
be
majority
like.
of them are the ones that the
we have
secretary sent
already,
out,
will
so
be up
that's
to
good.
3,000.
Yeah, I received mine.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody received mine.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
mine.
it is effective.
It is effective, it's great.
It's,
So
it's,
3,000.
we have a lot of
I would say that's what
dupes,
we have right now.
duplicates. One guy, we've got, I think, 4 applications for.
Oh.
It's all the same guy, which is good, but
He's only got one ballot.
he's only gonna get one ballot, yeah.
He wanted to make sure his application was in
In
case it got lost in the mail.
Right,
That does happen.
And that does happen.
it can
Absolutely.
happen.
Okay.
The reimbursement, we did get that from the June election. Security directive, we do have most things done. For that, we need to do a tabletop exercise still. And then I think that's pretty much.
And then I think we have a board member that hasn't taken their
Oh,
cybersecurity.
yes.
Yes, and we
Yes.
keep getting yelled at.
Is it
And
me?
we
Send me
do-
that link
Oh.
again.
Well, I don't know if I
Because I did mine.
Because it comes from the state. But I can see if the help
Have
desk or
somebody
somebody
send
is, yeah.
Oh, and they, of course, they give you those little quickies.
Yeah.
Cause that is one of the things, one
The
that
time you get to take it back and do
Like,
it.
everybody's done it.
Well, I was like all nervous my first time taking it, I was like, oh my God, I get all confused between, what do you call it?
Life is
This
great.
type or that type, and all these different types.
Swishing or.
Switching and fishing and,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, and fishing and switching and.
So next Friday is our crisis communication meeting with the sheriff's office, ODOT, county engineer, EOC.
That's nice.
Mayors, well, I don't know if the mayors are gonna be.
Yeah, Susan,
Because I think
Mayor
maybe they
Adela,
have some other
and
stuff.
I think they have, she has something going on,
I
but
think
she's
they
gonna
both
send
have
somebody.
something.
Yeah, and Josh, I think, is gonna send somebody too. But this is something that at the summer conference, they really encouraged us to do, and they had a panel discussion from 2 different counties
They
where
did.
they've done that, and it was really good, and both
It made
Dean
sense.
and Robin said that's something that we need to consider, so.
Cause it was real simple, I mean, the whole idea was you bring the people who you may have to call on and you get together and talk about it and set up, okay, where are you gonna be on that day? So if I need you, I can get you and you have this stuff ready so that if we need generators, we know they're gonna have it, if we need, whatever, so.
Well, one of the things, like Betsy said about, can we put signs up that say no guns allowed, but I'm not sure we can tell them they can't.
Maybe that's something we can ask at that.
So I'm gonna ask Mark about that.
Yeah, Mark should know right off.
We'll know what we,
Yeah,
Other
Yeah,
than
we can
schools.
look at the
Whether or not,
code.
I would say in schools, they definitely can't, correct?
not in schools.
no,
I think
no,
schools don't allow it themselves.
So the
they
churches,
go
maybe,
by.
and maybe the churches,
It's a-
But the churches
it's a
can make their
private
own
business.
choice.
But
They can choose.
there might be law at a polling location. I'm not sure whether there's a
I
law
see,
that
that's what I'm
addresses
thinking,
that.
that's what I'm
That may
thinking,
be.
so I'll get with Mark about that, but that meeting probably shouldn't be open to the public, correct? And that's why I didn't want to,
Crisis communication?
yeah.
Probably not.
I would say no, because if we're gonna be
Internal
discussing
working.
logistics
Yes,
of
I-
emergency response, we
Exactly.
wouldn't want.
So that's why I didn't wanna
general
talk
public to have
about it a lot, because I was afraid that they would think that they would be able to come in and it's just
No.
not open to
that.
that.
Not that we,
Well,
not
for
that
now
we,
they don't.
not that we think that,
Well, I mean, it's
the
on.
people who want to attend wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily have ill intentions,
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. Alrighty,
So that's all I
I
think.
think that's,
that is,
unless you guys have any.
well, as it turns out, I am not gonna be here on the October 9th. I'm gonna be in Boston.
So if we need to change that date.
Am I, just me, so all 3 others are here.
I'm available.
I will be here.
The commissioners do want to meet with us sometime
Yeah.
to go over our budget.
If anybody would like to join us on that,
For 25.
we can set it up anytime.
I think what they were asking to have it done by maybe the 15th or something of October.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm just gone that week. There's other weeks I could.
yeah,
Just let us know when you
Yeah,
decide.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, you
decide.
set it up
You
and
have
let
to
us
be
know
there,
and we'll
and
be
then
there.
if anybody
I know
else
Dennis
can
has
go,
gone in the past,
we
and,
can-
I think I went last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
So
next
you're
week,
gonna let us know or tell us about the
You
proposed
look at
date
these
for
two.
the.
Yeah, for that.
I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure I have I have all this.
make sure you
I don't have the Politico.
I don't know if those are the same, yeah, or not.
was a political one?
Yeah,
There
was a
aren't too
Politico.
many, you can run those through.
Yeah,
Well,
we
it's-
copy them before you guys leave. if you
Yeah,
want.
this Gateway Pundit, it's talking about Politico.
That way.
Politico.
Oh, okay. So Gateway Pundit is a news
It's a-
organization?
Yeah,
Okay.
online,
Okay.
I believe, I don't think.
Is that one of the
that's-
ones that was recently indicted? Because they
I
indicted him, they did a bunch.
didn't hear that.
I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you might give us 2 copies.
Yeah, so Scott's the